What is the true cost of paper used in the laboratory? Take, for example, a small lab with 20 employees, 20 installed instruments, and about 1,500 sheets of paper with 30 notebooks, all used on a monthly basis. When calculating, it turns out that our annual spend on paper amounts to €770. We could end this presentation on this positive note. You'd be forgiven for saying there's nothing to worry about with such a cost. But the truth is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The actual cost of paperwork amounts to €266,400 per year. So how did we get to this staggering figure? Well, we examined one laboratory in a pharmaceutical company with 20 analysts. What we found was this: 37% of the time consisted of carrying out analyses. 18% concerned quality control. That means the vast majority was spent on paperwork. All of this entails recording and rewriting data, analyzing results, and making calculations. But when information becomes scattered across different documents, we end up spending vast amounts of time just to search for it. Let's assume that 30% of working time is devoted towards working with documents, and we can recover this time after multiplying it by 20 working people and taking into account the gross labor costs of €3,700. It comes out to that most of the time spent on lab bureaucracy costs €266,400 per year. Let's not forget about frustrated employees who have to deal with paperwork on a daily basis. There's no time for paperwork, thought one thermoscientific employee who 30 years ago designed the first LIMS system to assist with laboratory work. His colleagues would most often complain of the intense levels of lab bureaucracy. Laboratory Information Management Systems, or LIMS, connect devices and IT solutions in the laboratory so that they can exchange data without the need for manual transcriptions, which rely on analysts' time and produce large amounts of paperwork. Calculations which may previously have been done in a spreadsheet can now be set up within the LIMS so that data is not transferred between systems unnecessarily. This reduces potential opportunities for error and ensures data integrity. There's nothing worse than the need to prepare a detailed report at a moment's notice. It's for this reason that one of the key functions of LIMS should be a module for automatic generation of reports, such as research certificates, work status, instruments capacity, planned collaborations, among many others. Expecting an audit? That won't be a problem, not anymore. All analyses and data are available on hand. Which samples have been analyzed? Were there any exceedances or other problems? Who performed the analysis and when? What reagents had been used and were they appropriate? On what instruments were the analyses performed and were they calibrated? What exactly did the analyst do, step by step? We can provide the auditor with thousands of other data and source files from all the instruments in the lab. Wasting paper in laboratories also presents an environmental cost. When compared to working with paper, the LIMS system clearly wins. When you take into account two basic disadvantages of paper. First of all, paper does not evaluate. For example, it accepts errors when saving data, both easy to detect and slightly more difficult to capture. Incorrect data can force you to repeat the test. It costs and it annoys. The second disadvantage of paper is that it cannot prompt and suggest. It will not alert you if you enter data from an uncalibrated instrument or when a deviation leading to an overrun occurs. A blank sheet of paper also doesn't help much in planning the team's work. Working with paper causes unnecessary costs and troubles. But can you work in a laboratory without notebooks? Examples show that it is possible, but a change in processes and habits is needed. and usually it is even more difficult in this case. However, before we throw away that last piece of paper, we can suggest, in fine print, some paper can be left as long as it improves the work and doesn't lengthen it. A number that should be remembered is €266,400. This is the annual cost of working with paper in a small laboratory. Thank you very much for your attention. Consider reducing the cost of paper in your laboratory.